this episode, I'm with Sean Stephenson, the GOAT of helping others overcome insecurity.
I'll tell you why I was born, and I hope it inspires you to find out why you were born. I was born to rid this world of insecurity, because when a human being is insecure, they do stupid stuff. When we feel like we're not enough, we chase external validation and external objects to try to tell us we're enough. When you see me in a video on YouTube, or you see me in an interview with some celebrity, or you hear me on a podcast, and you think like, I'd just love to sound like him, and I'd love to be that confident, that composed, and he just makes it look so simple, and But what I have mastered something that all of us can master.
Everyone wants to be great, but only few actually get there. And I'm on a mission to find out what all the greatest have in common. I've traveled tirelessly to find, sit down, and talk with GOATs, people that are arguably the greatest of all time at what they do. Sales, marketing, advertising, business, podcasts, branding, you name it. The way they do things may be different, but they all seem to see the world the same way. To them, success is not only achievable, but inevitable. And we'll get inside their heads as they share their expertise with me each week. My name's Mike Arce, and this is The GOAT Show. This episode is sponsored by Trainual. One of the most popular authors for entrepreneurs, Michael Gerber, said people should not run a business, systems should run a business, and people should run the systems. And having all those systems and processes organized and documented is crucial to building a scalable company. However, it can be a very daunting task to make all that happen, but not with Trainual. Trainual gives you an all-in-one solution to quickly and easily document your processes, educate your team, keep them updated with changes, and quiz them along the way to ensure they know the material. I absolutely love Trainual, and you can learn more at gettrainual.com. Again, that's gettrainual.com. And I also have to share my experience with ClickFunnels. If you've been living under a rock and haven't heard of them, they're hands down the #1 platform for building landing pages and marketing funnels. I've been using them since 2015, and it's so crazy how easily my team and I create landing pages using their proven templates and easy drag and drop system. Without any design or coding experience whatsoever, we've been able to create hundreds of landing pages within minutes that look great and close sales better than anything we've used in the past. They're great for webinar funnels, sales funnels, demos, squeeze pages, you name it. I can't even imagine my business doing as well without them. And actually right now, they're offering a free 14-day trial if you go to clickfunnelspromo.com. So I definitely recommend you guys take advantage of that 14-day trial. It's free for 14 days, and you can get it at clickfunnelspromo.com. Hello everybody, I'm Mike Arce, and welcome back to another episode of The GOAT Show, where we interview people that are arguably the greatest of all time at what they do. And today, I am here with Sean Stephenson, the GOAT of helping others overcome their insecurities. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Man, I'm so excited. This is actually an interview that I've been wanting to have now for probably a year and a half, or whenever that EO Alchemy event was. And I saw you on stage, and it was just so powerful. You had such a great way of controlling the room. Your energy shifts from like really intense to like really, like you had dramatic pauses, and the room was just watching and engaging. I was so locked into watching everyone else watch you. That was what I was impressed with, because I really respect people that can do that. So I'm super pumped to see what we can talk about today. For everybody that doesn't know Sean, guy has an incredible background. We're going to dive into his story, what he's been able to do, and his message that he has for others. And by the way, guys, whether you think so or not, all this stuff is more than likely applying to you as well. So, Sean, the GOAT of helping others overcome their insecurities. Tell me what that means to you.
Well, everyone's insecure. And our insecurities flare up during certain parts of our day or certain parts of our week. And then there's certain things that we can do to keep our insecurities at bay. And I've been studying insecurities professionally for about 18 years as a therapist. And I'm fascinated with them because the more you recognize that you have them, the less power they have over you. The more you deny that you have them, the more power they have over you.
Right.
And so getting over our insecurities is more about following certain formulas and doing certain things in your day-to-day habits that allow your insecurities to live at rest and be at bay than to hijack your brain and get you to do stupid things. Because I'm guessing over the course of your life, you've had moments where you felt insecure and you said or did something that later you thought, who was that guy?
Yeah.
Like, why did I say that to that person? Or why did I shrink and not speak my truth in that moment? And in that moment, I believe it's almost mathematical that there were things that you did and didn't do that day that activated those insecurities.
So give me an example. Like how could I see that in my daily routine?
Sure. So I have really got this down to a science now. And I found that the cure to insecurity is self-care. So what does that mean? That means the more care you take of your mind, your body, and your spirit, the less insecurities will show up and hijack your brain and get you to say and do things that you later regret. And so that self-care, it comes down to daily rituals. And I actually track all of my rituals. I have something I call a consistency calculator, where every day I have a list of activities that I need to do, and they are both personal and professional. And the more activities, I'll give you a few examples, but the more activities that I do, at the end of the day, I score myself 0 to 10 on my mood. How did I feel over the course of the day? And I've been tracking this for a while now, and I've seen that how many things I do on my list can be correlated to how good I felt that day. No matter what happened in that day. Something bad might have happened, right? I might have lost a deal, or somebody close to me might have died, or something could have happened in my external world. But if I stayed on my self-care list, it didn't rock me off my center. And that's interesting, but what I think is more fascinating is that when I don't do those things on the list and something good happens, I pick it apart. So somebody might say, we want to pay you X amount of dollars to speak at this company. And in my mind, if I didn't do things on my list, I might be a little greedy on the inside and think, well, why didn't they pay me double that? And there I am getting a positive thing happening, but because I didn't take care of myself, I didn't appreciate it.
Right.
And so these things are simple. It's things like hydrating. Did you have enough water that day? Exercise. Did you move your body? Did you read that day? Did you spend time in nature? Did you spend time with friends? Did you spend time mentoring somebody? Did you spend time getting mentored by somebody? Did you spend time connecting to your spiritual element? Did you spend time giving back and creating value for others? Did you do a random act of kindness? And the list goes on. And so I literally look more forward to completing these things than anything in my day, because I know the more that gets checked off, the more that I do, the better I'm going to feel, and the more my insecurities are not going to be present that day. So I've been really working on getting people to see that the fundamental foundation has to be self-care.
Now, you listed off so many things that I think everybody would like to do, like to say that they do, and I think people read in so many of these books that entrepreneurs, business people, even just people that want to self-improve, they read, they know these things would be helpful to them. Do you find the people that are the most insecure typically are the ones that do less and less of these on a daily basis?
It's mathematical. It has to be. Absolutely. The more you take care of yourself, the better you feel, because you're respecting yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you respect yourself, you don't doubt yourself. You don't question yourself. You don't tear yourself down. Mm-hmm. And so you got to look at it this way. Here's a metaphor. Imagine you got in an accident and you broke both your legs and you had to be in a wheelchair for a while. And you had a nurse that was taking care of you. And that nurse was very inconsistent at taking care of you. Some days they were nice to you, some days they weren't. Some days they were showing up to help you, and some days they didn't show up at all, even though they were scheduled to. How much would you respect that nurse?
Yeah, not at all.
How much would you trust that nurse?
Not at all.
Right. So I'm guessing you would feel like that person's not taking care of me. Well, that nurse lives inside of you.
And your insecurity about her is stronger. And if it's you, the one that's doing it, your insecurity of
If
yourself.
you aren't taking care of yourself and you're inconsistent and you're mean to yourself, that's going to cause all kinds of problems.
Right.
And so I found that there's 3 levels, and maybe we'll talk about the other 2 as we go on. To be unstoppable is about having that foundation of the pyramid be self-care. There's 2 other levels, and I don't know if you want to know what they are.
Yeah, no, I want to know right now.
Okay, so to be unstoppable, I've found that the people that I've worked with, both those that are at the best in their game and those that are on the rise, they're climbing, is they have the foundation of self-care, but then the next level is they're tapped into their life purpose. If you want a ton of energy, you don't want to be living on energy drinks or caffeine or drugs to get your energy moving, then you need to be tapped into your life purpose, which is the better way of saying it is, why were you born? And when you know why you were born and you were very clearly aligned with that, you will get out of bed with an energy that I call God's caffeine. And you will be ready to go because you will know, I'm on this planet to do this thing for the world. So for me, as you started the show, mine is to rid the world of insecurity. And so it doesn't matter what kind of day I'm having. If I get aligned with my life purpose, I get out of bed for more than just me. I get out for the human race. And let me tell you, I have far more energy thinking about helping the human race than just helping Sean. And so when you're aligned with your life purpose and you've got that self-care, the only thing left, the tip of the pyramid, is your environment.
Wow.
And your environment is who you hang out with, the kind of place that you live in, the mind, the thoughts that you have that are surrounding you, the messages that you're taking in, the environment. When you're in the environment, you become the environment. And so I found that you could take great care of yourself, be aligned with your self-purpose, but if your spouse or your boss or your coworker or your employee is negative and nagging and mean, and you're not stepping up for yourself, you're not drawing boundaries, you're not saying, I will and won't tolerate this, you're not taking care and cleaning up your environment, it's all going to crumble. I think you only need one negative person to derail your destiny.
You think a lot of the groups like the ones that you're a part of, that's how we got connected, like Genius Network, you think those exist for the exact opposite reason, where it's like, hey, these are all people that are working on themselves, and it's all about surrounding yourself around people that may even play tough with you, but it's for the sole purpose of leveling you up?
Yeah, absolutely, because that's an environment of empowerment, and that's the thing. You need your environment to empower you, meaning there needs to be people that you perceive having the things that you want that are willing to spur you in that direction and say, come on, follow my voice, follow my lead, follow my actions. If you do what I did, you'll have what I have. And, you know, in those environments, I walk away, and it's a little bit of a mixture every time I go to those groups. In the beginning, I kind of get a little pissed off at myself. I'm like, you are not doing enough with your life. What is wrong with you? And then I have to catch myself and say, whoa, 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 whoa. I will not speak to myself that way. And that's when I get excited. Okay, these people aren't here to make you feel bad about where you're at. They are here to show you what's possible. Now ask questions. Now get involved. Now see what you can do to support them, because every successful mentor I have has taught me the same thing, and that is help people that have what you want get more of it. If you help people that have what you want get more of it for them, the natural law of drafting will pull you up with them.
That's pretty cool. All right, so one thing I want to dive into. Oh wait, did we cover all 3? We covered 2. Okay, cool.
So you remember what they are?
Yeah, well, I remember the philosophy of it all, but I don't know how to bullet point them.
Bottom of the pyramid is self-care.
Self-care.
Life purpose.
Okay.
Empowering environment.
Environment, yep. And environment includes like the music you listen to, the shows
everything
that
you
watch.
bathe yourself in.
Got it.
Even down to where you live. So like I lived in Chicago most of my life, and I hated the weather. That was not an empowering environment for me. And so finally, my wife Mindy and I were talking, and we said, what would be a more empowering weather? And we decided Arizona, because it's almost always sunny and beautiful here.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent here.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so there's a lot of people that want to be motivational speakers, you know, and a lot of them really have a great message they want to share. And, you know, you're one of the ones that are really doing what a lot of them want to do. You're getting paid $15,000 to $30,000, from what I understand, to go out there and really motivate a crowd and get them to do more with what they've got. And I think what really helps you, I guess, get on their level and really hear you and listen to you is that you have such an incredible story that I think people can relate to no matter where they're at in life at some point in your story. And so, if you don't mind, I'd love to just, for the people that don't know, you're getting more and more recognized right now. It seems like the more people I talk to, the more know you and your story, which is great. But for those that don't, I really want to help share that with them. So, you mind talking about that a little bit with me?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, first, let me just say that everybody's got a story.
Yes.
And the biggest excuse I hear people say to me is, well, Sean, your story is amazing. That's why you get paid what you get paid, or that's why you built your career. But let me tell you, I don't believe it's my story. I believe it's the way I tell it. And so that's a little distinction.
I would agree with that.
That everybody's got a story. Everybody's got something fascinating about them, some challenge that they have overcome, something that the whole human race can relate to. So I just start that as a caveat. But with my personal story, I was born into a very unique container, 3 feet tall, in a wheelchair, and I have a rare bone disorder called osteogenesis imperfecta. It's a brittle bones condition that causes the bones to be very fragile. So by the time I was 18 years old, I'd already fractured over 200 times. Something as simple as sneezing would fracture a collarbone.
I understand you were born with broken bones.
Most of my body was crushed when I was born. Yeah, it was like pushing a human through a bread making machine that has, very brittle bones. You know, most of them were broken. And so when I came into this world, my parents were told I wasn't going to live. I was given a 24-hour prognosis of life, that was as long as I was going to give to live. And my response is, 38 years later, all those doctors that told my parents that, they're all dead now, and I'm still here speaking. And that goes over everywhere but when I speak to hospitals. And, with this container, I've dealt with a lot of physical pain. I've dealt with being stared at. Still, when I go out on the street, most people have never seen somebody that looks like me. It stops them in their tracks. I've had a lot of rod surgeries where rods were put in my bones to try to straighten and lengthen them. I've dealt with a lot of upset because of my container. But what I'm very proud of is that the psychology that I've developed through my childhood years with my parents having an incredible influence on me, and then later when I just kind of took the baton and ran with it and continued to learn, what do I need to be thinking about myself to not feel sorry for myself, to not let this be my excuse. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of people that would love to have my excuse. Because it's very easy to say, well, I didn't do anything with my life because I didn't get a normal body yet, because I didn't have a normal childhood, because I didn't get fill in the blank, right? And I found that I had a choice, and I do every day, and I need to choose, am I going to use this as an excuse, or am I going to use this as a launching pad, as something that is unique? When I come into a room or I'm on a show like this, I don't have to do anything to be not recognized, but remembered. Somebody sees me once, they're going to have a hard time scrubbing me out of their brain. Yeah. And it's because it's so unique to see somebody in this type of package. And that is marketing gold. Most of my mentors would love to be as sticky in people's minds as I am. And so, but that's a unique perspective, right? Mm-hmm. To take this container and say, this is marketing gold versus a genetic abnormality. I don't see that my body is a challenge that I have to live with. No, I actually believe, if I could go spiritual, big picture for a minute. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
Okay, big picture spiritually, I believe that I needed to be in this container to do what I have to do on this planet. That to rid the world of insecurity, I had to look like this. Because if I looked like you, people would be like, well, easy for you to say, like, what struggles have you had? Mm-hmm. But when they listen to me and they see me on that stage, they can't reject it as quickly. They have to sit there and go, well, maybe he does know about adversity. Maybe it's not been an easy road for him. Maybe I actually should listen up to what this man has to say. You know, I believe that I was born into this container for a reason. And let me tell you, that gives me far more energy and far more drive and power and focus in my message than if I believed that this was some kind of, you know, chemical coincidence that I have to deal with this. No, this is divine, in my opinion. Am I wrong? I don't know, but it's far more empowering to believe that.
Right, right. Now, when you were 17, what were you able to accomplish by 17?
By the time I was 17, let's see, thinking back to 17, I had produced TV shows. I had climbed the ladder in a political organization and then been in the top 96 out of 38,000 kids in the country. I worked with President Bill Clinton. I had worked for a congressman. I got around.
Yeah, by 17. Isn't that pretty cool? Now, you went for political science, right? That's what you went to school for, and you graduated. And then you got back into motivational speaking, right? Because that was a passion. You really dug it. It was perfect. But you didn't just want to wing it with what you've got. What I understand, you went back to school to really understand people.
Yeah. Well, here's what happened. I was giving a speech to a church and a youth group after the church. And this girl came up to me. She was all of junior high age. And she rolled her sleeves up. And she said, why do I do this to myself? And she put her arms out, and there were cuts all up and down her arms. And it took me a second to realize that a human would ever want to mutilate themselves intentionally. And I was floored. I felt completely out of my element. I didn't have the answer for her. I was scared, and I actually felt irresponsible for not knowing more about the human condition. And so I told that young lady, I don't have the answer for you, but I'm going to go find out. And that was a turning point in my life when I went from being a professional speaker to then going back to school to become a professional listener as a therapist and understand the human psyche, the conscious and the unconscious, how they work together, the elements of self-esteem, the elements of confidence, the elements of darkness and disorders that we can develop by not taking care of ourselves and through not dealing with the trauma right away and then getting recovery through the trauma. So that was a pivotal moment because I wanted to actually have tools, not just anecdotes.
Right. You did what a lot of professionals do where you start doing well for yourself, for others, and you start getting to bigger levels, and then you realize that the problems you're solving are getting bigger and bigger, and they're bigger than what you've got, and you've got to raise up in order to be able to keep doing the job.
Always, and that's the thing. I'm constantly leveling up with my skill sets. The moment I feel like I know something, I need to go back to school.
Yeah.
And the school doesn't have to be a brick and mortar school. It could be an online course. It could be hiring a coach. It could be bringing myself into a seminar training, whatever it may be, because I want to constantly feel like I'm a student.
So you went and you studied something that I think is getting so much popularity right now. I think a lot of people think it's really cool, especially in the entrepreneurial space, which is neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And we had Russell Brunson on the show previously, and he was talking a little bit about it, which is really cool. But tell me how you use NLP and how you define it.
Sure. So I'm a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming, and I've been using NLP since 2001. And I was fascinated because, you know, there's this tall man that you might have heard of named Tony Robbins.
I heard you're close with him.
Yeah, and so when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time with him, and then I've continued to study his work, and I wanted to kind of figure out where did he get all of his magic, you know, or a lot of his magic. And he had studied NLP and then continued to branch off. And when I studied NLP, I thought, wow, this is some fascinating science about the conscious and unconscious mind. Neurolinguistic programming is a science of success. It's a science of how our language impacts our neurology, how our thoughts impact our behavior and our physical movements, everything from eye accessing cues, when you're thinking about something versus imagining something versus remembering something, your eyes go into different places, and I'm fascinated. I've gone on to study things like micro expressions through Paul Ekman and other different forms of psychology and behavioral science. But what I find fascinating about NLP is it's taken a lot of different modalities and blended them together for the purpose of understanding why we do what we do on this planet.
So give me an example of how you've been able to use it and you're like, wow, this stuff's really working. It's doing the work that I needed to do.
So anchoring is a big thing. Anchoring is when you can, like classical conditioning, Pavlov's dog, when he would ring the bell, give him the food, and would continue to do that, and then finally ring the bell, and the dog would salivate. There's a lot you can do on stage with setting anchors so that when you go to one side of the stage, you're talking about emotional things. When you go to the other side of the stage, you're talking about intellectual things. And then as you just wheel or walk over to those places, people's minds naturally go, oh, he's going into an emotional spot, and they go deeper. Wow. Or, oh, he's going into an intellectual spot, time to be more analytical and critical. And that's just one of many things that I've used NLP for stage anchoring. You can do it through audio anchoring, so that the more you say a certain word, you create a feeling immediately connected to it. So then that finally you use that word again and again and again, and it just keeps bringing peace.
Oh, okay, so
now
audio. I got to hear an example of this. So like, how would that work in audio? Like, what word would I say, and then
so now we're sort of blending in also into hypnosis, which is what I have my doctorate in, and there's just certain words and the ways that we say them. Do you know what the human finds so soothing to hear?
Their name?
Their name.
Okay.
Exactly. In a soothing tone, their name. Over and over, and the more gentle you are in your tonality, the more that person feels like, oh, that's the way my mom used to say it. Oh, that's the way Dad used to say it. That's the way my best friends talk to me. And then just knowing tonality in using somebody's name, but there's so many different beautiful things to NLP, and it's also about pattern interrupts. So I'll give you an example. I was working with a client just last week, and her brother died, and her brother died suddenly a year ago, I believe. And when her brother died, she was totally distraught, and she just was coaching with me, and she's like, my father wants to give up our season tickets to the hockey stadium, and I can't deal with it because I used to sit with my brother at these seats. And she was getting all emotional, and she was starting to cry, and actually I think it was 2 full years now, not 1, sorry. 2 years ago the brother died, and so I just said to her, do you think your brother ever went poop on your toilet? She was like, what? I said, do you think your brother ever went poop on your toilet at your apartment? And she's like, I don't know, maybe. I'm like, well, when you move out of that apartment, you're going to bring that toilet seat with you? And she started laughing, and she's like, oh, you're doing it again. I go, what? She's like, you're scrambling my pity. And I had her interrupt. She was going down this road of thinking about that seat that her father was paying for in the hockey stadium, and that her brother sat there, and how sad she won't be able to sit where her brother used to sit. And then I brought it to another realm that was uncomfortable or weird or awkward, called the toilet seat and pooping, but it scrambled it because it interrupted the pattern. And that's just one of many examples.
So you say you're a trainer for NLP. Does that mean that you just can train, you're certified to train, or does that mean you actively look to train people, like you enjoy doing it and you get
So there's practitioner, master practitioner, trainer, and then master trainer. And the only people that are master trainers are people that are training trainers.
Okay.
And I went to the trainer level because I never had the intention of consciously wanting to teach NLP. It was something I wanted to use more than that I wanted to teach. And, I'm very transparent and tell people, I went to Dr. Matt James, one of the best in the world at training, NLP, and very grateful for my skill sets.
Very cool. All right, so now let's get into what you're the GOAT of, helping people overcome their insecurities. Like you said, everyone's got them. I've got them. The people I looked up to have got them. The people that, look up to me have got them. On a regular basis, I think when I feel like I face it the most is when I'm probably covering it up the most. I kind of feel that way. I notice that even my demeanor, I feel it. It's so bad. I change so much. So do you think that kind of happens with everyone, or like how is it best disguised with people that there's people here that say they don't have them.
Yeah.
There's people listening that say they don't have insecurities.
Sure. So, do you know the difference between arrogance and confidence?
Well, I feel like I don't know if I could articulate it as well as you can. I'm pretty sure I can't.
So, wouldn't you say visually they might look very similar?
Yep.
Yeah, but there's a massive difference. Can you tell when you're with somebody that you know is acting arrogant versus when you can tell somebody's acting truly confident? You can just intuitively know, right? Well, I believe that arrogance is overcompensation because you're trying to hide that you're really scared or that you really don't feel you have what it takes. And I think arrogance is all about proving, whereas I think confidence is all about improving. I know somebody's confident when they admit that they don't know everything and that they're here to learn more, and they ask me questions to learn more, and they're just a student and they're a sponge. And I trust people that are willing to say that they don't know it all and that they want to learn more. Whereas if somebody acts like they have it all together, I know that they have a house of cards. I know that they're holding together their life with bubble gum and Band-Aids. It's not true. No one has it all together. Nobody has perfect marriage. Nobody has a perfect business. Nobody has a perfect health life. We all go through life, as I heard a scientist once say, evolution in your life, how you evolve, it is not a staircase. It is not a perfect gradual climb. It's a kaleidoscope. And if you remember when you were a kid and you were playing with a kaleidoscope, and you turn that cylinder, things fall into place. At the same time, things fall out of place. Right. And that's what evolution is. As you're developing some areas of your life, some parts are going to fall away. And then you're going to learn, time to get back in that. And other things are tumbling. And of course, you want to do your best to constantly stay ahead of the game and make sure that you're doing everything to harmonize everything as possible. But trying to be balanced perfectly in all areas, I think leads to complete and total breakdown.
So can I share with you some things I think I may have insecurities around?
Sure.
And then maybe you can help me with them.
Yeah.
That would be a good topic for the show. At least I know I get helped. So I remember when I started this business, I was like, man, if I can just get $10,000 a month, if I could just earn a living where I'm making $10,000 a month, then I would be so great. My wife wouldn't have to work and all that stuff, right? And I don't even think I got to 6 or 7 before I was already shooting for
30, 50, 100.
And then I was like, the next goal was 7 figures, right? And I was like, and I worked so hard to get to 7 figures. And I remember, that to me was $83,333.33 a month, right?
Yep.
Like I knew that number.
Yep.
And I remember by the time I got to 65, 70, it was already changing. Now I was going for, 6 figures a month, right?
Yep.
And hit the 7-figure mark, now it's okay, $1 million a month.
Yep.
I just barely accomplished first goal. So I never really can say I've hit it, because by the time I get close, I've already moved it up. And even already now, which is crazy, it's even happening more now than it was before, that number of $1 million a month to me is already not enough. And I know it's crazy, and I feel really content with my life. I'm very happy. I journal every morning, things I'm grateful for. I follow the rules when it comes to that because I know how important it is. But I think where my insecurity lies, I know I have a good feeling of what I can achieve. I know how blessed I am with the people I have, the resources I have, the skill sets. I know I can learn, and just being in America, right? But I feel like there's people that are optimizing those opportunities better than me, and I'm letting myself and everyone around me down sometimes.
Yeah.
That's me telling you exactly what I feel,
Yeah.
even though sometimes I want to not feel that way.
Yeah. So, I can't help you. You sound pretty messed up. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, man. I got a lot going on.
No, here's what I would say. First of all, are you familiar with Strategic Coach?
Dan Sullivan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would join Strategic Coach.
Okay.
And here's why. Because they go after that.
Okay.
And Dan calls that the gap. And that's that gap between where you want to be and where you are. And you're constantly pushing out further and further and further so that you feel like you're never achieving because you're pushing your goal further out and you're not celebrating and you're feeling like you're stuck in that gap between where you are and where you want to be, but you make it like you're chasing the sunset. Mm-hmm. You know, imagine that you really tried to chase the sunset.
Right.
You would go crazy because as closer you got to it, the further it would get because it's getting pushed out. So that's one thing is I would recommend you get around people that snap you out of the gap because that's not going to work. Second thing I would say is you're making your happiness dependent on something outside of you. Mm-hmm. You're going to lose.
Yep.
This is why I get excited about my consistency calculator, checking my things off, making sure my mood is solid because I know I have full control over that and that is something that is internal. Mm-hmm. That is something that I have control over. It's internal and it's not based on comparison. See, because you did say, as you were mentioning, that experience of what caused you to feel insecure, that you're comparing yourself. You know, how is this they're doing it so much better, or how did they get to do that? And compare leads to despair. That the people around you that you admire, that have what you want, they should feel like cheerleaders. You need to interpret that they are showing you what's possible, as opposed to they are your competitors, mm-hmm. and that until you have what they have, you're not as good as them. Because let me tell you, every single wealthy mentor I have looks at somebody else in another area of their life, at times in a space of envy. You know, I've sat down with one mentor of mine who's made well over $1 billion, and he'd love to have a marriage like mine, a relationship like mine. And I look at his $1 billion plus business, and I would love to have that. But let me tell you, there were certain sacrifices that he was willing to make that I haven't made, you know, time, money, energy-wise. There's certain things that I did to open up my emotional side and make myself more vulnerable than maybe he is in his relationship. Or mate selection. You know, some people, they make a mate selection and then they feel like, oh, this didn't work out. I got to try again and then again and again and again. And then they find, oh, maybe it's me. Maybe I need to work on myself because no partner is going to work as long as I'm a mess, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're all dealing with this comparison game, and it never ends well. In fact, I sat in a meeting in a room about this size with people that are making hundreds of millions of dollars, a couple people even a billionaire, and I listened to their problems. And then I go back to the people that I'm working with that are making, in my coaching groups, that are making hundreds of thousands and a few $1 million. And they have the same problems. It's just more commas. More zeros, more commas, same problems. And we always think that like, oh, when I have more zeros and more commas, my problems will go away. Mm-hmm. No, they won't. If you aren't happy with a small amount of money, you won't be happy with a big amount of money. If you aren't happy with a relationship of somebody in 1 year, then you won't be happy after 10 years. Because what happens is if you aren't shifting from within, it's just amplifying over time. Mm-hmm. You know, I just look at how money doesn't change people. People think that. They're like, oh, money changed me. No, it didn't. It amplified you. Mm-hmm. If you were a jerk at $1 million a month, you'll be a jerk at $1 million a day. Right. You know, if you weren't giving of $5 once a week on Sunday, you won't give $50,000 once a week. You know, it doesn't matter. You have to make the habits now, mm-hmm. so that you can continue to grow into the man that you want to be. It's also about creating a life that is a great value to others, not just yourself. You know, like I went to Kenya last year. I was in the slums of Africa, and I'm around people that truly have nothing. No running water, no electricity. They don't know where they're going to get their next meal. They are dying of diseases. And you know what I was fascinated by? Is how many of them were happier than you and I. Mm-hmm. Because they were looking at things through a different set of perspectives than you and I do. We don't have problems. Anybody watching this, you don't have problems. You have inconveniences. Unless you are scrambling for your dinner tonight and you're not sure where you're going to sleep because you don't have a roof over your head, you don't got problems. You have inconveniences. Your Wi-Fi slowing down is not a problem.
You know, and I don't know about some of the listeners here. You know, when it comes to the money, and I know a lot of people will say this, not necessarily mean it, but in my case, I definitely know it to be true. I don't do it so much for the money at all, really. It's more of a scoreboard of what I know I can achieve. Sure. I gave a lot of away last year, and this year we're going to double that, which is excellent. You know, we have big charity goals. We just did a great thing last weekend with the team, and you know, a lot of it goes right back into the business. For me, it's more of like, was I able to make the impact that I could have made with all I've got? You know, or am I wasting days? Am I wasting minutes?
So you have a couple selves that live inside of you. One self is the ideal. It's the perfect version of you. You don't do a thing wrong in this version of you.
Right.
This guy would do it perfectly every single time, right? And that ideal is who you are striving to be, and you feel like you never are. Mm-hmm. And I think when we are constantly going for that person and feeling like until we get to that level of perfection, we can't be at peace. That just leads all kinds of problems. I think you need to maybe bring it down to a day-by-day thing. You know, setting a goal to what can I do to take better care of myself? Going back to that self-care, what can I do today to be just maybe 5% more loving to myself, 5% more appreciative? But you know what I find with entrepreneurs, individuals that are very success-driven, part of their formula is they think what got them there was beating themselves up. So when I come along and I tell them, hey, you might want to stop beating themselves up, they hear, hey, you're taking away my winning formula. But there's a lot of ways that you can, a lot of roads lead to Rome. You know, if you want to get into a building, there's either a door or you could use dynamite. What's going to make less of a negative impact on that building? Right. Find the door. Find the way that causes less of a disruption to the structure. You know, and for me, if you want to use ego to create fame or wealth, not saying that you do, but if somebody wants to create wealth through fame and ego, they'll get there. But there's one thing that ego never lets us have, and that's peace. Mm-hmm. It never will let you have peace. And that's where the soul, and that's where nurturing and nourishing yourself with love is a big part of it. The hardest thing you'll ever have to do in your life, the hardest thing you'll ever have to do is love yourself.
Mm-hmm. You say everyone's got insecurities.
Yeah.
What are yours?
My insecurities are, well, I've got a lot queuing up in my brain right now. My insecurities are that I'm not providing as well for my family, for my wife and I, that I should have times where when I'm not taking care of myself, that feels like, am I letting her down? Am I not doing enough on this planet? You know, it's no different than what you said. You know, it's that feeling that how come I haven't reached as many people as Tony Robbins? You know, and I teach what I most want to learn. You know, I tell these things to cameras like this over and over and over, so it sinks in deeper and deeper and deeper. Mm-hmm. And I have insecurities at times when I'm not taking care of my health, about how long am I going to live. You know, I heard a lot when I was younger. We don't know how long you're going to live. You know, we don't know what your lifespan is going to be. And so when I'm not taking care of myself, then my insecurities and my fears also can rise up. Sometimes I feel like I'm not as well studied as I should be. You know, I'll come across somebody who is super smart in behavioral science, and they have way more research done than I have, and I think, oh my God, I haven't even scraped the surface of this this behavioral science. You know, I am susceptible to all the insecurities. You know, and I've also come to realize that everybody is just a voice in my head. You know, and if I judge you for your insecurities, it's because I might be in denial that I'm going through that too. You know, that I really love this acronym, FYI, follow your irritations. When you're going through your day, if you get irritated, that's a gift, because something inside of you is wanting attention to see, where are you not at bliss? Where are you either projecting on somebody or envious of somebody? Where are you putting your own stuff out into the world on somebody else and blaming them, even though it's not even on them, it's you? Or where are you envious? You wish you had the courage to establish those boundaries. You wish you had the courage to ask for that sale. You know, I remember for a while, I was looking at all, this was a couple of years ago, I was mad about all the marketers out there, the James Malincheks, the Brendan Burchards, the Tony Robbins, and I was thinking, these guys email me all the time, Russell Brunson, right? I'm like, why are they sending out all these emails? I don't do that to my customer. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, okay, wait a minute, follow your irritation, Sean. And I was envious of how comfortable they were putting out their material and asking for the sale because they knew they believed in what they had to sell. And then that's when I made a huge transition to realizing that a lot of the marketing monster that stops people from growing their business is they've sold themselves a bill of goods that people don't want to be pushed. Yeah, they do. People want to be pushed on the things that they want done in their life. Look, I want to be pushed to buy the next Apple product. Why? Because I know it's going to be great for me. I want to be pushed to go to that next amazing course that Joe Polish offers, or whoever that I'm studying at the time. I want to be pushed. People want to be pushed on the things that they ultimately want. They need to be pushed. And if you're scared to push, it's because deep down inside, you think maybe what you have to offer isn't going to be the best thing for them.
Now, you have a training coming up, August 10th, 11th, and 12th, right, 2018. So what is this training about? Why do people, you know, basically come in and be a part of it?
So the event is called 10K Speeches.
Okay.
And it's a very clear, defined goal. I'm going to teach you how to make $10,000 a speech or more. And it doesn't matter if you're a chiropractor that wants to teach your message out in the world, whether you were sexually assaulted when you were young and you want to now speak on the safety of children, whatever it is, your mission, your message, or your purpose, I'm going to teach you how to monetize that. I want to teach you how to get your message out there and reach millions. I want to teach you how to create viral videos. You know, I have been blessed to learn how to get a message out into the world through live stages with, you know, tens of thousands of people there, or out to hundreds of millions of people through the viral videos we produced. And this event is a 3-day long event where people are going to be coming together to learn how do they get their message out to millions of people, make a massive impact, and be paid what they should, which is a great amount for what they've experienced, learned, and endured.
And it's something you do every year.
Yes,
right?
it's an annual event.
Annual event. So if I wanted to learn more about this event, where would I go?
You would go to 10kspeeches.com. So that's 10, K as in kilo, speeches, SPEECHES.com. And I'd love to see you there, spend time with you. It's a really fun event. We bring in some of the best experts on stage performance, on business and marketing, and I open up the last 23 years of my career as a speaker. There's been a lot of money that I have wasted that I don't want you wasting. There's been a lot of money I've made that I want you to make, and it would be my privilege and pleasure to be able to share with you my success strategies and the success strategies of my mentors.
That's awesome. Guys, we just spent a good amount of time with the GOAT. Hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. I know at least no matter what I did, because we got to talk about some really cool stuff here that I've probably had up in my head for a little while too. Sean, it's been so great to sit down with you, man. It was awesome. And I can't wait to keep learning from you, because I know you're learning from more and more people, so I'm just going to keep learning more from you, and that works out for me. Guys, for everybody watching and everybody listening, thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or find our podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever your favorite place to listen to podcasts might be. And if you really like this episode, please leave a review for us on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.